Here we have a sheet of prepared puff pastry, and I'm going to ask you just to roll it out a little bit. So take your pin and just even it out. I don't want it too thin because we want to make 4 tarts out of this. So just a gentle roll. Perfect. Okay. Excellent. Now, what we want to do is cut out 4 circles. I'm just going to lift out of the pastry and fit it right into the tart shell. You want to press it and push it and pinch it a little bit so that it fills in the entire form. And what do you do with this? You re-roll for more tarts. But we're just going to put this aside for now. Okay, once you have them like that, we have to bake them. So you put the oven on at 400, right? Okay. So why don't we bring over those marbles and this parchment, and you bring over that bake sheet. This is parchment paper. You can find this in the grocery store or in a kitchen store. And I just cut it up into circles because we have to do something to these shells. I'm going to put a piece of parchment over each one of these. And Harry, you're going to put some of those baking marbles on top. Why am I doing this? I'm doing this because if we just baked these blind just like this without any covering over them to weigh them down, they would just sink into the shell and you wouldn't have a nicely formed shell. You just have a puddle of silly looking pastry. You don't want that. So by doing this, we weigh the pastry down and we hold the shape of the shell. So you have to get yourself some parchment paper. Okay, that's good. So now we have our shells. Why don't you put those in the oven, 400 degrees for about 10 minutes. We've got to really watch them. We want them to be golden brown. So go ahead and put them in the oven. And while he's doing that, we'll talk about the filling for this. So for the filling, we're going to use something that every Italian loves, Nutella. Nutella is to an Italian what peanut butter is to Americans. It's a spread, and it was originally from the Piedmont region. I don't know if you've ever eaten Nutella. Have you?
No,
spread on a piece of bread? And you can buy Nutella in your grocery store. It's a spread that comes from the Piedmont because it's a combination of chocolate and hazelnuts. And if you've ever traveled in the Piedmont, just look out the window as you're traveling by, and what are you going to see? Hills and hills and hills of not only wonderful vineyards, but hazelnut trees. So this combination of chocolate and hazelnut spread was developed in the Piedmont, in the city of Alba. And you see how nice and thick this is. What I love about this recipe is that, you don't, once you've got the shells made, this is very easy to do. It's not like you have to cook some type of a filling or peel apples or any other type of fruit. You already have this beautiful looking, rich looking chocolate, mascarpone cheese. And that is something that comes from where? Do you remember? Northern Italy. From the region of Lombardia. This is a full-fat cream cheese that Italians use in a lot of their desserts, especially tiramisu. You've had tiramisu.
Oh, that's
and this is one of the key ingredients. Beautiful. All right, you see how nicely, Harry, that mascarpone just lightened the Nutella. And now it's perfect for putting in the shells. So after you get the shells out of the oven, you take off the marbles and the parchment paper, and you let those shells cool until they're room temperature, because if you don't and you put the filling in, they'll be soggy. So we have some that we did a little earlier. Here are the shells. And this is called blind baking. Whenever you do a tart shell where you haven't filled it and baked it, and you just do the shell, that's called blind baked. So you see they're nice and crispy and hard, and they held their shape. So now that we have that, we're going to line each of these with some banana. While you're doing that, I'm going to say that we're going to decorate the outside of each of these with some plain mascarpone that we've combined with a little bit of sugar, just to go around the outside edge. I'm going to let Harry work with the pastry bag and do that. Doesn't this look good?
Oh,
this reminds me of something from childhood. There's just something very satisfying about eating one of these tart shells with this beautiful mixture of hazelnut, chocolate, banana, and mascarpone. Beautiful. Very filling dessert as well, because one of these actually you could divide in half and serve 2 people. All right, so now, Harry, we're going to whip up this. That's your next job.
All right.
So why don't you whip that up? Okay. You just go around the edge, adding a little pressure.